podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, today we are back with horse racing, and we have a real treat for you. Classic winning jockey of the 1960s, Ron Hutchinson, now 95, 96 in December, is back for the first of two shows. In this first episode, the famous Australian jockey reflects on the recent Royal Ascot meeting, a festival where he enjoyed success during the 1960s and 1970s. Part 2 with Ron coming up later this month. Hello, Ron. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion. You're still going strong.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm going very, very well. I'm feeling well. I had a bit of a hiccup about 6 weeks ago. As a matter of fact, I had a heart attack. I didn't know I was having a heart attack, but anyway, it turned out that I was having a slight heart attack, and I spent a couple of days in hospital and I had an angiogram and all that sort of thing, what they do to you when you have an episode like that. But fortunately, I've come good, and I'm back at usually my best. Still going racing. I was there on Saturday, so I'm enjoying it still.
Well, you are amazing. You're 95 and a half.
Yep, that's right, heading for 96. It's a big age, I know, but fortunately, I'm keeping pretty well in myself as far as exercise and all that sort of thing. And I think I've still got my marbles. I haven't lost anything like that, I don't think. Well, nobody's told me anyway. But
talking about racing, did you manage to watch some of Royal Ascot?
I did, Steve. I sat up for 4 nights and watched it. I missed the Friday night, but all the other nights I sat up and watched it. Very interesting and most enjoyable. It's a wonderful meeting, and it certainly looked as though everybody was enjoying themselves. And the coverage I listened to Jason Richardson on it, of course, and from Australia. And I thought he was excellent, and his interviews were good, and I enjoyed it very, very much. So the time went very, very quickly, and as I say, it was most enjoyable.
An exciting meeting with the royal winner, Frankie Dettori's farewell, 4 winners for him.
Well, wasn't it? Yeah, very good. And Ryan Moore, he rode well. Those top trainers and those top jockeys, they sort of make the meeting so good. They ride very well. Frankie rode so many nice races, and the Gold Cup and all that sort of thing. With John Gosden's training performances, certainly it's magnificent, and it brings back me a lot of memories from my point of view.
No Australian winners this year.
No. I'll say poor old Jay Mackey had a few hiccups, didn't he? In one way or another. Not like the year before when he was he did extremely well, but this year it wasn't meant to be. And as I say, the Australian horses didn't run well, in my opinion. With Cannonball and those sort of horses, they're not up to that class, I don't think.
Must be hard, though, taking a horse that far to Royal Ascot.
I can just imagine. They're quite expensive too, wouldn't it? Those sort of things that I don't know what would cost these days, but I should imagine it would run into several, thousands of dollars to take a horse that far. But it's the same as when the English come out here, trainers come out to Australia. But this year, of course, they've come out with Coolmore and what have you. They've won most of the big races, and Willie Haggis winning the big race at Randwick just recently. It's good luck to them. They're doing extremely well, and they certainly showed that they're a lot better horses over there than what they are here.
We mentioned Frankie Dettori, 52, and he's still going strong. Last year.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, will he have any desires of going on a little bit longer? I don't know. When you're in such good form, it's pretty hard to give it away when he's winning, most of the big races. So he may change his mind. You never know.
Yeah, I think he's coming to the Melbourne Cup this year now.
I see there, yeah, I see that. I read that in the newspapers he's coming out. Well, he's been out here several times, and he's well, I don't think he's had very much luck out here, but anyway, they'll be sure to give him some good rides as he comes along for sure.
When you rode at Royal Ascot, was it different from anywhere else you'd ridden in Australia?
Well, yes, it's the meeting of the world, I would say, without any doubt. I never rode in America in places like the Kentucky Derby. That I only went to the Washington International, and that was quite good, but not in the same class as the Royal Ascot meeting. I don't know whether it's the people getting up in their top hats and tails, and the ladies dressing up so nicely, but it's just got a bit of class about it somehow or other, and it's pretty hard for probably other clubs and racing countries to achieve that sort of thing. That patronage of the royal carriages coming down the straight and all that sort of thing. It's a wonderful spectacle as far as I'm concerned.
You had a lot of success at Royal Ascot. You won the Gold Cup, the Coronation Stakes, the Queen Anne, the Royal Hunt Cup, the Prince of Wales Stakes, the Coventry Stakes. In your first year, the Coventry Stakes. Yeah,
that's right. That's going back 1960 with Paddy Pettigrew. And I think we won it when I think it was called the New Stakes in those days on Floribunda as well, and the Coventry on Typhoon, I think it was called the Coventry, but for Paddy. Oh yeah, we had a great time in those days. My first year there was great, but I was only listening on Saturday when the Wokingham. I think I won the Wokingham too, if I remember rightly too. Yeah. So,
I think you won all the big races.
Yeah, it's a lovely meeting to ride at, and it's a thrill to be there and see everybody, and of course the crowd appreciate that, and the parties in the car park and all that sort of thing. It's just got a wonderful atmosphere for sure.
Which win stands out the most for you? Would it be the Ascot Gold Cup in 1974?
Oh yes, of course. Ragstone. I remember when I first went to ride for the Duke of Norfolk. He told me that he was in his ambition was to win the Ascot Gold Cup, and this was in my early days, and he said that he can have the derbies, and I want to win. I'd be delighted to win the Ascot Gold Cup, because at that time I think he was running the show at that particular time. Anyway, fortunately, we had a horse come along, Ragstone. He wasn't a great stayer by any means, but anyway, we had a plan, and the horse was good enough to win, and it made a wonderful thing for the Duke and Duchess to win the race, because unfortunately I think that was in June, and then I think June or February of 75 the Duke passed away. So he achieved what he wanted to achieve in racing anyway.
Yeah, I read about that race. You had a pacemaker in that race.
That's right, yeah, Tommy. I can't remember the horse's name now, but anyway, Tommy Carter rode the horse, and because I was on this, he was a non-stayer, but he used to pull a bit hard, and we had to sort of cover him up and try to get him to stay, which he did, and fortunately we were able to get out and do our job and finish off the race and win. So it was a great thrill. It certainly was.
And that would be a prize presented by Her Majesty the Queen, the late Queen.
I think it was, if I remember right. Yes, of course. And of course, the Duchess was, I remember the Duchess, she was very, very pleased to win. She met me halfway down the run, straight coming back and walk back with the horse. It was great. It was a great thrill, really great thrill. Yeah, I'll miss it.
Did you ever go back to Royal Ascot in your top hat and tails?
Yeah, yes. When I retired, Scobie Breesley, he had a suit, lovely suit, and we were the same size, and I shared the suit with him. And when he wanted to go to the Royal Ascot, he wore it, and then when I wanted to go, he let me wear it. So that was, and you wouldn't believe it. When he died, he left the suit to me, so I've still got the suit.
You were obviously the same size then, the two of you.
We were, yes. The funny thing, yeah, the same size, the same measurements. You couldn't move. It was unbelievable. And but anyway, he had the suit made, and of course, luckily for me, I shared it with him, so that was good.
With the Eclipse Stakes coming up this weekend, it's a good time to remember that 50 years ago, Ron won the race at Kempton on the 4-year-old Scottish Rifle. Sandown was closed at the time for major building work. As a 3-year-old, Ron had ridden Scottish Rifle to finish 6th in the Derby and 2nd in the Irish Derby. For the final part of the show, what has the horse meant to you in your life and career, which began back in the 1940s?
All I can say is, God bless God for making races or racing be what it is today, because it was my ambition as a small child or small boy to be a jockey someday, and luckily I was able to become an apprentice and be quite successful as an apprentice. And believe me, it's taken me all over the world practically, and I've enjoyed racing very, very much all those years. And I fortunately still involved. Peter, my son, was a good jockey, rode very well here. And fortunately, my eldest son also was a very good amateur ride when we lived in England. He was very successful. So we're all thankful that God made races. That's all I can say.
I know you had hip trouble and you retired. You were 53 when you retired, but how difficult was it to retire when you've been doing something for 37 years?
Yeah, well, the time came when I was in Malay at the time, and all of a sudden I was away from my home and family, and I was sitting with there was another jockey and I were elderly jock, Georgie Podmore, and we would both see in the barrier stalls waiting for the other horses to come in, and we were talking, chatting just one across at one another, and the next thing, Poddy's horse went down on its knees and went out the front door, under the gates, straight poor old Poddy off. And there I looked down at Poddy, and he's bleeding from his ear, and his face is all covered in blood. And I thought to myself, gee whiz, that could have been me. And from then onwards, I was never the same. I said I'd had enough. That could have been. I decided to give it away then. So that was my swan song as far as racing was concerned, as being a jockey. Yeah, it was there. It was just rather disappointing. Fortunately, Poddy was all right, and all he had a few bruises and cuts and but it didn't look too good. And as I say, I just give up then. That was my swan song. But fortunately, I've done breeding. I've been in breeding, and I've been in owning horses ever since, and been involved all those years. I'm out of it now, but but up until recently, for the last few years, I've had a few horses in training. I try to be a trainer, but that's not a good caper for me anyway. So, but fortunately, my son was a veterinary surgeon, and he's still involved in it. So all in all, I've had a pretty good life, Steve, and I've enjoyed it immensely. I wouldn't change a thing.
No, because you hear that when jockeys pack up riding, it can be very tough mentally for them.
Yeah, well, not for me. I've taken it easy. And fortunately, as I say before, I told you we go to the races nearly every week, and I was made the ambassador for Mornington Racecourse. which I enjoy. Go down there and I enjoy the company of everybody. Talk to everyone. I'm not a punter or an I just go and enjoy myself. It's great.
So your life changed forever when you went to Claude Goodfellows all those years ago.
That's right, yeah, way back in 1990, I think it was 1942 or 1943, I'm not too sure. But anyway, when I turned 14 years of age, and I went there my mother told me to go there and give it a try for 3 months. I had 3 months to make up my mind what I wanted to be, and of course I loved it straight away. I loved being with the horses. I loved being looking after horses, and I can really look back on those days that they were very happy days. Although they were tough, and I was getting up early in the mornings and all that stuff, but I enjoyed it. Even in the cold weather, I didn't mind it in those days. It was great, wonderful. And I've met some wonderful people too. Throughout my years, I've met some wonderful people and made some wonderful friends in Ireland and France and Germany. So I can look back on my life and say, well, I've had a really pleasant time in life.
I think you passed the probation, Ron.
Yeah.
Thank you very much again for being on the show.
Good. Thank you.
Your memory is amazing for someone, approaching 96 in December.
It's pretty hard to remember certain races in that time, but I've got memories of some of the good ones anyway, which were a thrill.
Well, it's always good to remember the good ones. Thank you very much again, Ron, for being on the show.
Lovely, Steve. Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for your time anyway.
Thank you.
Sports Social Podcast Network.